In this video is to discuss the literal and some metaphorical meanings of Robert Frost's poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And I'm just going to start by playing the poem, and I found this really awesome what's called a soundscape, where it includes some added sound effects and some visuals to kind of go with the poem. So it takes a little bit longer because there are some gaps, but I think that really sets the atmosphere of what Frost was trying to convey with this poem. So enjoy.
Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Okay, so even though this is a short poem, there's a lot that we can read into its details, but I'll just start off by talking about what the poem is basically describing on a literal level. So there's a speaker who is traveling by horse, and he's on the way to fulfill a responsibility. We don't know if he's going home or if he's finishing a job or what he's doing, but he decides to stop in the woods, which is an unusual choice because it's dark and it's snowing. So it's not the most comfortable position to be in. And his horse kind of indicates the same confusion. He shakes his bells around and is wondering why they've actually decided to stop here. But as he observes his surroundings, he notices how beautiful it is, and he starts to describe some of the features in very calm and poetic ways of the easy wind blowing and the snowflakes slowly kind of drifting down. And finally, the final stanza indicates that as soon as he is encaptured by the beauty of nature, he quickly snaps out of it and realizes that he's got promises that he needs to keep, and he's got a long way to go before he's able to rest and go to sleep. So simple poem, but there are a few meanings that you have to think about that will kind of explain, I guess, what Frost's intentions were for this poem. The first one is this idea that it's really unusual for this person to be stopping. Most people wouldn't stop in these kind of conditions. They'd keep going as fast as they can to get to shelter and safety. So you could read into this that maybe he doesn't want to reach his destination, or maybe that the woods were just so beautiful and nature was just so beautiful that he had to capture that moment, Or maybe he has a fascination with being on the outside and disconnected from other humans, and he quite likes being by himself. The snow itself has some symbolic meanings and even some biblical allusions. There's a Bible verse from Isaiah 1:18 which says that even though the sins of the people are as scarlet, you will be made as white as snow. Snow's always been seen as something that is clean and purified, and the color of it, obviously white, is something that also represents purity and cleanliness. So one could read in that he's stopping here to cleanse himself or to clear his mind of his life and his thoughts, so that he can continue on with his journey and actually reach his destination with that feeling of being cleansed. A third meaning to think about is the fact that he describes the woods as lovely, dark, and deep. I don't know about you, but whenever I see something that is dark, I usually will get scared and don't feel like going into them. And especially if they seem to go far away, I'm not really going to be jumping at the chance to walk in there, especially without any form of lighting. But the fact that he starts off by describing this as lovely may suggest a mind frame that he has. Maybe he's adventurous and he wants to go in there and he's quite satisfied that he'll be safe, but maybe it refers to his psychological state, that he doesn't quite feel attracted to safety and would prefer to kind of enter into the darkness just to see what's in there. There's also been some connotations that the darkness could mean death or entering into death, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. And finally, the idea of sleep. Now, sleep can symbolize a lot of things. It can symbolize death, and it could also can symbolize rest and finding distance and peace from stressful or tiresome things. So there are some meanings that can be gathered from this final line here about what he actually means by the word sleep and what it can symbolize. And the genius of Frost leaves this up to our decision making.